What to do when the seller demands an offer. That's the topic of today's show. This is Todd Toback, and I want to welcome you to the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. Whether you are a new wholesaler trying to scratch and claw your way to your first deal, or if you are an investor who's looking to scale his business to seven figures and wants something that's going to spit off cash month after month after month without your personal day-to-day involvement, this is your place. So I've got a gift for you. If you head on over to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script, there you can download the same exact script that we use to talk to motivated sellers, word for word, line for line. As a matter of fact, this is a script that has been responsible for locking up 1,300 deals inside my company and probably tens of thousands of deals across the country with new and experienced investors. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script to download your script today. All right. So that being said, this question was sent in by a listener. And if you're interested in sending in your question, email support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com, and maybe we'll answer your question on air. So let's go ahead and play the music.
Hey Todd, this is Oscar from Chicagoland. I've just been getting a lot of sellers who want to sell, but they always ask me for my price offer first, and I usually don't like to give my offer first. What would you do in that scenario? You know, they just give me an offer and I'm ready to sell.
So Oscar, great question. And what you're describing, I think every wholesaler or investor listening to this has probably experienced, where you're making a call and all of a sudden the seller says, just give me an offer, right? You called me, give me a number, right? And you start asking questions and they immediately take over the conversation. I can tell you this is really, really frustrating if you don't know how to handle it, because all of a sudden you're in this subservient position, right? You're pretty much begging the seller to do business with you, where it's basically like, hey, this is the number, and if you like it, great. If you don't, you don't. And it's too much, right? You don't get to use any of the sales techniques that I talked about in the No Limits sales system. And by the way, if you have not invested in the No Limits sales system, you got to go ahead and check that out. Go to nolimitssalessystem.com. I got some free training in there that if you go to that website, you'll get some information that shows you how to deal with this in detail. So go to nolimitssalessystem.com. But let me give you on how to handle this one particular aspect today. The number one thing is you have to control the conversation. What does that mean? It means that you're asking the questions and the seller, okay, is answering. It means that they are kind of, trying to balance, okay, and you have firm footing. It means the seller feels like they've got something to hide and not the other way around. You're calm, you're cool, you're collected, you're friendly, you're helpful, okay? And now they have to come to the table and pretty much tell you why they need to sell to you versus the other way around. You don't want to be begging, you don't want to be pleading, you don't want to ask twice. And so it's really, really, really important for you to do that. So when you have a seller who just says, give me an offer, and you say, okay, $200,000, and they hang up, that's just brutal. I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend my days on the phone doing that. I know my sales team doesn't want to be doing that. It's just brutal. It's tiring. It's exhausting. It's not a fun way to do business, and you're not going to make any money, by the way. So rule number one, control the negotiation. How do we do that? Well, when you're talking to a seller, the first thing that you have to do is you have to have some questions in your back pocket. And so one of those questions that I like to use is if a seller says, well, give me an offer, I like to immediately put the brakes on this. I like to put the ice on this and say, Mr. Seller, I'm not 100% sure yet if I can even buy this house. I'd have to ask you a few questions, right? And if you want a serious offer, I've got to know a little bit more about the property and your situation. Is that okay? Can I ask you a few questions to see if maybe we're a fit or probably not? Right. So you see how my tone was very calm. It was cool. It was collected. But I'm like, look, if you're going to just force me into just giving you an offer without giving me information, I'm not moving forward, right? You see the pull away, right? And if they say, well, just give me an offer. Again, I might say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand you just may want an offer, but again, if you really want a serious offer, and if you want to take me seriously in any way, shape, or form, don't you think I need to know a little bit more about the property from you direct? Now, at that point, if they're really abrasive, they're going to say, well, you called me. Okay. Well, at that point, I'll say, well, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I call a lot of people. And after I talk to, let's say, 100 or 200 people, a portion of those are interested in selling. And after that, I talk to some more of those people and I ask them their situation and their timelines. And then a portion of those, right, want to do business with me. But I can't determine who I'm ready to do business with if I know nothing about the property. That's why I'm actually calling you. Because if I knew what I could pay, I probably would have just mailed you an offer without even talking to you, right? Is there any reason for us to continue this conversation? Oh, I love that question, right? Is there any reason for us to continue this conversation? Now, one of two things is going to happen. One, boom, they're going to say no and click. Well, now you save yourself some time. Two, they're going to say, okay, I'll listen. So, you have to be able to use that line. Now, the other thing that you could say is I have to see if your property would even qualify, right? I'm not sure. I don't want to give you an offer that I can't commit to. You want to ask a lot of questions, right, about the property. You want to say, can you tell me about why you're selling the property? Can you tell me about your timeline? Can you tell me why you called my postcard today? Can you tell me why you returned my phone call, right? Can you tell me why we're even speaking right now? If they get really unmotivated, right? Why haven't you hung up on me? Use those bold questions to now soften the seller up, because once you say that, now you are turning the tables. But if they're like, give me an offer, and you're like, no, and they're saying, give me an offer, and you're saying no, it's this tug of war that's not going to work. So you've got to soften the situation by asking those questions. So now you ask the number. And one of the things I mentioned earlier in that script, we say, Mr. Seller, if I could, if I could purchase your house as is with no repairs and I'd cover all the closing costs and there'd be no real estate commission, what would be the lowest price you'd consider? And if they don't answer that first question and they say, well, you tell me, I'd ask 5 different ways. Well, what's a ballpark? What's the best guess? Right? What are other houses selling for in the area? Right? And were you expecting to get something like that? Or would you be willing to take a little discount for some speed and convenience? So that's 4. Let's say that they are just being, they're not giving you anything at that point. Well, the 5th time, I'm going to basically go really, really, really low. And this typically where someone won't give you a number, they might be a driver. So I like to go really, 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 really low on the price, because even though I'm giving them an offer, it's really a question of how low they will go. So let's just say that I think that I could buy the house for $300 and still make a profit. I'll say, what if? I'm not saying if I could. I haven't seen the property yet. I don't know your condition or situation, so I'm just making some assumptions here. But what if I could give you $200,000 cash for the property? Is that something that you even consider, or probably not? So now you see, it was non-intimidating. I didn't say this is the offer. I just kind of threw it out there. They're either going to say, well, we're in the ballpark, and now you have an idea. Or 2, they might say, no, that's way, way, way less than I thought. There is no way. There are other houses selling up the block for $300, and mine is way nicer. I could say, okay, well, I threw out a number. Where would you need to be? Right? So use that extreme, the contrast, to now extract that number out. Very, very important that you use the 5 ways. Now, very important is that you are now going to be on the phone with what appears to be, by the way, a sophisticated seller. Some people say, if a seller won't give me a number, they're sophisticated. And I've seen a lot of wholesalers do that because the seller won't give them a number, they automatically come in high because they're scared the seller's going to hang up with them and sophisticated. For me, I do just the opposite, right? The more sophisticated the seller, the lower I go, right? Very, very important, because you don't know. They could be hiding something and they could be very, very motivated, right? And now you have an opportunity to do a fantastic deal. So don't let the appearance of seller sophistication make you come up on your offer. So let me summarize. This is all about control, okay? and motivation. What I mean by control, not controlling the seller, but by controlling the conversation. Do not let the seller pepper you with questions where you have to be on the defense. It should be the opposite. Use power questions like, hey, I'm not really sure that this property would even qualify, right? That's why I called. I'm asking you some questions. Would it be okay if I could ask you some questions to come up with a reasonable offer, right? So start there. Maybe you could use, hey, I mail out a bunch of postcards. I see who calls me back, right? Then I ask some questions and then we kind of come up with an offer. Would that be fair? Can I ask you some questions? So use things like that. If they're really being belligerent, say, hey, why are we on the phone, right? Why haven't you hung up on me? And hear what they say. If they won't give you a price, ask 5 different ways. I've talked about that. If they don't say yes by the 4th time, use a soft pass. Go low, have some guts, right? We do big deals around here. All right. And then don't use this as an excuse to pay top dollar. Don't be scared to go low on the seller. That's very, very, very important. Okay. So Oscar, I hope you, next time you talk to a seller, you can use some of this. It's not going to work every time. It's going to work 80% of the time, but make sure to head over to No Limit Sales System if you want the complete system that we use to talk to motivated sellers, all the objection handling, all the techniques, all the ninja deals, all the ninja techniques, excuse me. All of the ways that we do big deals. Go to NoLimitsSalesSystem.com. And don't forget, if you want a copy of that script, you can go to NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com/script. Until then, do big deals, fill your bank account, and create more freedom. Talk to you soon.